Okay, another update for the Mercury Space Sim that I'm developing for Gear VR. This one will be a much shorter, quick update. There are a lot of changes from last week, but not a lot that's going to take long to explain. So first thing before I start off, just a couple quick things to mention. I did some more back-end work this week, and I adjusted the issue I had last week with the atmosphere visibility fading way too quickly, so that's much more realistic now. And then I also turned drag back on and made some adjustments for that. So atmospheric drag now works mostly correctly. I'm still gonna be tinkering a little bit, but it's turned back on. It's working. And then one thing that you can see here in the menu, for one, I got rid of that little cockpit here in the menu, and then also you can see now when the aiming reticle is no longer hitting anything, it goes away. That'll make more sense when I get into the game portion, but that way when you're looking out at space, it's you don't have this reticle hanging out in your view when you don't actually need it. So anyway, with that, I'll get started and show off the biggest change, which is ta-da! Cockpit panel. So this is where, again, just talking about the reticle again. So now you look out the window, you don't see that silly reticle just hanging out there. But I'm basically setting certain areas where it makes sense to see it. So when you're on the panel, even if you're not on something that is an interactable item, at least when you're on the panel, you have the reticle. And then what I may do is have the reticle change slightly when you hit a no kidding interactive object. I'm going to play around. There's going to be some additional coding I need to do with that to make that happen. But anyway, so you can see, obviously, just the very bare bones start. But I'm getting there. So the reason I didn't do very much this week is I spent most of the week reteaching myself Blender and how to use that, and starting to build the cockpit in Blender. So what I have here is the inner pressure vessel. This is actually the outer window. So there's on the Mercury, there's an outer pane and the inner pane. The inner window assembly is actually going to restrict this view even more. So you're looking at some pictures of what the Mercury cockpit looked like. The window is way too big. Well, it is because it's kind of the outer pane. When I add the inner window assembly, that'll choke that view down even more. And then so I've got the panel. Those are the two indicator lights that were on the old cockpit. They're going to work the same. And then I've got one switch here, and of course there's lots of switches in the cockpit. Those will get added later, but I just put that switch there to take the place of the big red button. One thing that I don't know that the video is really going to convey as well as playing the actual game does is, even with this big, overly large window here right now, holy cow, does this give you already a sense of the tight confines of the capsule. It really does feel claustrophobic in this thing, and I'm sure it's going to get even more so as I add, additional panels and that inner window assembly and all the other bits and pieces that are going to start protruding into this already limited space, so it should be pretty interesting. So I'm not going to show the whole launch, but I will just go here and say, okay, here, cool, we got the switch, we hit it, we got a red light now, and the launch is initiated, and we're going to go on our way. And the other thing, I didn't have time to program this yet, so I don't have it modeled quite yet, but the other thing I'm planning on doing is I suspect, and honestly I pretty much know for sure, but some of the gauges, I'm going to model them in here, but they're going to be probably too small to be usefully read. You know what I mean? You'll see the gauge, but you won't be able to, the resolution's not good enough to be able to actually see what the gauge is telling you. So my plan is to have essentially pop-up text. So when you, put the reticle over a gauge, hit the fire button, and it'll pop up, a pop-up text saying what that gauge is reading, so that you can see it a little bit more easily. So we'll see. I might try and add that before the next one. Put a gauge or two in here and kind of test out that functionality. And I have the feeling that now that I have, I won't say mastered the art, but successfully figured out how to 3D model in Blender and bring it into Unity. And the process actually works really, really well. I'm impressed with how how seamlessly those two. Oh, there goes the sky starting to fade. But how seamlessly those two programs actually work really, really well together, and it's a very quick workflow to go bounce back and forth. I don't even have to close them down. I'm working in Unity, and then I pop over to Blender and change some things in the model, and I come back to Unity, and it updates it, and it's already there. But anyway, so now that I've got that, I'm probably going to balance the workflow a little bit between continuing to code and make additional changes there, and continue to model and texture and make things look pretty. So yeah, but pretty happy with the developments this time around. So I think it's going to be pretty cool when it's all done. But humble opinion.